The Detroit Lions defense was in need of a lot of assistance last year, and while they came alive later in the season, they had the damage had been done, man. They could not dig themselves out of the hole that they dug themselves into to start the NFL season. And while the Detroit Lions might have had some people, some sack leaders, Aiden Hutchinson with 9.5 in his rookie year and 8.5 for James Houston in his rookie year, the Detroit Lions never had a defender with higher than 4 sacks outside of those two gentlemen. And me, if you've been around me for any length of time, you know that 2 things have been on my mind. 1, edge rushers. And 2, a stellar defense. And when I say stellar, I'm talking about top 5, top 3 defense. That's what I want to see. Our offense is fantastic, and in my opinion, only going to go up. I want to see now that nasty, mean defense, and I think that we are getting there with the addition of Cam Sutton, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Emmanuel Mosley, Brian Branch. Our secondary is trending that way. Then we got Jack Campbell to help out that second line of defense. And our defensive line is coming right along. We'll have some people that we didn't have last year. Charles Harris for the year, and Romeo came on late. But I am going to stand my ground here when it comes to the defensive line for the Detroit Lions. I know a lot of you in the comment section say that our defensive line is fine. I think we have a lot of bodies on our defensive line. But I don't think when it comes to that stellar defensive line, I don't think we have that. I don't think we have a defensive line that's imposing, that strikes fear into the hearts of the offensive line. That quarterback is standing back there saying, man, I hope my offensive line can block for me, right? Now, we got guys trending that way, but we don't have that defensive line, in my opinion. Why did I bring this up? Because according to Tom Pelissero, it's not on Twitter, it was on NFL Plus, he was on a show, he said that teams have been calling the Minnesota Vikings for defensive end or linebacker Danielle Hunter. Now, I thought about it. The first thing that came to my mind was, wait a minute, this is the Minnesota Vikings. Brad Holmes seems to have quite the relationship with the GM over there. I'm not even going to try to pronounce his name. Traded up in the 2022 NFL draft to get Jamison Williams, and then we traded TJ Hawkinson to them in the middle of the season. So the first thing I thought was the Lions could be one of those teams. Should they be one of those teams? Now, for me, you have Yannick Ngakoue, who is a free agent who would cost little to nothing, no draft capital at all, and Danielle Hunter would. So the question to you is, do you believe that the Detroit Lions are one of the teams that have been calling the Minnesota Vikings on Danielle Hunter? Let's take a look at Danielle's stats. Drafted in the 3rd round in 2015, pick number 88. He had 10.5 sacks in the 2022 NFL season. And you might say, well, he may have fallen off. He's been with Minnesota his entire career. This guy has had no fewer than 6 sacks in his entire career, coming off of 10.5 in last season, with 6 in 2021 for a total of 71 sacks. 12.5, he's had double-digit sacks for literally half his NFL career. 1, 2, 3. So over half. Over half of his NFL career, he's had double-digit sacks. So, again, it's all about draft capital. We have the money to pay him. We'll discuss that in a bit. But it's all about draft capital. Being a 3rd-round pick, coming... Now, the issue is Minnesota and him have not been able to work something out, and that's where this is coming from. He would love to stay, I'm assuming, with Minnesota, but they haven't been able to work anything out as of yet. And because of that, teams have been calling the Minnesota Vikings, per Tom Pelissero. Now, if we look at the financial ramifications of Danielle Hunter, what it would be this year, okay? According to SpotTrack, says Danielle Hunter signed a 5-year, $72 million contract with the Minnesota Vikings, including a $15 million signing bonus with $40 million guaranteed and an average annual salary of $14.4 million. In 2023, Hunter will earn a base salary of $4.9 million and a workout bonus of $100,000 while carrying a cap hit of $13+ million and a dead cap value of $18 million. So it looks like Danielle is going to get a grand total of $5 million. Now, that cap hit is a big deal. That's a big deal. 13 and 18 for dead cap value and a cap hit of 13. But we just literally saw the Arizona Cardinals cut DeAndre Hopkins with a cap hit of $24 million. So this is not like beyond the realm of possibility. But the question that I have is, should the Detroit Lions be one of the teams to inquire about Danielle Hunter? I'm going to say yes. And it's not for, every big name that comes up you want to trade for. That is not it. It's the fact that our defensive line, as of right now, needs some help. And I want to show you guys something as to why I say this, okay? Let's take a look at, and this website is amazing, by the way. We're going to look at StatMuse, okay? The number one team with the most sacks, 70, the Philadelphia Eagles. You know why they lost the Super Bowl? Patrick Mahomes. The second best team, 15 sacks less. Here are the Detroit Lions right here, tied number 18 with 39 sacks. Okay? This is why 70 sacks. They had twice as many as we did, and they had 15 more than the team. They had, and they have 15 more than the next team, right? So for me, this is why. And out of the teams that made the playoffs, now you could say here, Matthew Judon had a lot of sacks. Micah Parsons had a lot of sacks right here. But we don't have a Micah Parsons. We don't have a Matthew Judon. So what do we need? We need a defensive line. So for me, if the compensation, we could work it out, which they did. A lot of you think that in both trades, Brad Holmes fleeced the Minnesota Vikings. So why can't he fleece them again and get somebody like Danielle Hunter, right? I see potential in our defensive line, but I don't see that defensive line, even with those guys back. Charles Harris, Romeo. I don't see, Pascal. I don't see a scary defensive line. I see a defensive line that's going to be pretty good, right? But when you get to the quarterback, 38 times. and you can use some work. They were tied for 18th. Okay? And two people had 18 sacks, right? So Nick Bosa did that by himself with the 49ers. So for me, if the compensation is right, if we can work it out, absolutely, I take that. And it's not, like I said, it is about guys that's going to affect this team. Now, if you want a cheaper option, go get Yannick Ngakoue. But he is still on the market for whatever reason. Maybe this is up to him. He wants to settle down and find a home, somewhere he can plant roots. So I'm not sure if the Lions think they have what they need, but we'll see when it comes to the playoffs. Because think about this when it comes to the season. Hutch is going to get double teamed. He's going to get all the attention is going to go to him. Houston is not going to come under the radar anymore. You take those two dudes away. Who do we have? Charles Harris. I'm talking about impact dudes that are going to get 7.5, 8 sacks. One of those guys. We got a lot of 4-sack guys. 4-sack guys. We got a lot of 4-sack guys, but we don't have, other than, I don't think James Houston, I know he wants to have a better year. I'm not sure he will. You take Hutch. Who do we have? We don't. I keep telling y'all, and y'all keep telling me the same. The defensive line is fine. We don't have that guy. That's how we're going to win. We're going to win by getting to the quarterback. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Would you trade for Danielle Hunter, or do you think that we're solid? You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions. I'm not mad. I'm just passionate when I talk about the team.